welcome to the F.O.C podcast, hosted by Kyle McLaughlin and sponsored by Northstar Technologies. The F.O.C podcast is the future of construction, and today I'm talking exactly about that, the future of construction. I'm going to give an applause here because I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. We're going to rock and roll. It's kind of a special episode. It happens to be episode number 7, to be precise. This is again going to be a 3-part series because there's simply so much information to cover that we can't do it all in one podcast. Otherwise, it'd be 3 hours. And I'm not a huge fan of 3-hour long episodes. I'm sure most people are not either. Another reason why this episode is important and unique is because I'm actually going to be going through a presentation that our marketing team has created to explain a full overview of Northstar. So really, if we had a name for the episode, it would be Northstar from A to Z or Northstar Overview, right? And I'm going to challenge my marketing team to come up with a really cool name because they are really, really smart and more clever than I am. But for now, we're calling it Northstar A to Z, right? We're going to go over a little bit of an overview. We're going to talk about some features and benefits of the system. We're going to talk about the markets that we're in and some previous performance that we've had in the past that's really unique and really cool and really exclusive to both our product and the innovation that we've had and the design and the engineering and the manufacturing the process that we have in place that allows us to be in some of these markets where other building systems cannot. So strap in, it's going to be an exciting episode. Welcome to episode number 7 of the FOC podcast. Let's get right into it. Let's kick things off and let me talk to you a little bit about kind of the overview of the company, right? Who Northstar is, what we've done in the past, what's our core competencies, what's the value proposition that we offer to our clients, right? So Northstar Technology Group specializes in the design, the engineering, the manufacturing, and the construction of advanced fiber reinforced composite building systems. Okay. So what does that mean? Our core competencies are exactly the 4 pillars that I just mentioned. We design, we have in-house architecture and in-house design, in-house modeling. We have in-house engineering on the structural side. We have a manufacturing facility located here in Bonita Springs, Florida. And we're also a licensed general contractor in the state of Florida, right? Outside of the state of Florida, we partner up with what we call our builder partners to perform both commercial and residential jobs. So we can perform, if you're listening to this and you're in California and you're wondering how you can use Northstar, you're not. You can. We have partners nationwide. Again, core competencies being structural engineering, 3D modeling, CNC programming for CNC machines, composite manufacturing, and of course, constructions. We have 2 subsidiaries at the time of this recording. We have Northstar Technologies Group, which is the parent company, and then we have Northstar Building Systems, which is our manufacturing and construction division, also where our GC license is held. And then we have Northstar Realty Group, which is a full-service real estate brokerage that I'm currently the broker of. So to talk a little bit about past performance, right? Because I know that's always important for you guys to get a context of, you see us as this new home builder currently. But in a previous life and in previous versions of the product, right, this product has gone through a massive growing pattern, if you will, from generation 1 all the way to generation 7, which is what we use on most of our builds today, and in our prototype generation 8, which will be used in more of like a commercial high-rise and curtain wall setting. But we have some really cool projects, thanks to our CEO, Paul Inglesi, who has worked in the industry for over 30 years now, and some really, really cool projects and opportunities that he's been involved with. I'm just going to name a few just to highlight them. The U.S. Southern Command Southcom building, which is in the east side of Florida. We have the Miami-Dade College Kendall campus, and that was a curtain wall, which is what I was just talking about. We have the Fort Harrison Hotel, which was for the facades, and that's up, I believe, in Tampa. The MacDill Air Force Base, which was our building enclosure. We have a luxury automotive condominium, which was here in Bonita Springs, Florida, along with a luxury indoor gun range, which some of you may know as the Alamo in Naples, Florida, right off of Vanderbilt Beach Road. Reflections Dermatology, St. John's Town Center, which was architectural features, and the dermatology, excuse me, I skipped through that. That was the building shell. We did architectural features for Starbucks Coffee, composite manufacturing for General Growth Properties. We have done composite manufacturing for Cinnabon. We have done composite manufacturing for Miller Brewing Company, who I'm sure many of you know. And we also did the Ralph Wilson Stadium. If you are a Buffalo Bills fan and you like to jump on tables, And you probably know what the Ralph Wilson Stadium is. We did some composite manufacturing there too. All cool little background story that kind of leads into the rest of my presentation. So next up is products, right? So we have a diverse product line, and really to explain the products, they are industry driven. What does that mean? Because composite has such a wide range of uses, it's hard to just focus on one market, right? And I know that can be counterintuitive because a lot of the times you want to master one before you move on to the next. But because we operate as a manufacturing company, then it's easy for us to scale across markets because the product itself is, for the most part, very similar, right? You have either exo shell, which is our base wall, you have exo frame, which is our framing system, or you have exo structure, which is the full structure, right? And that's not only exclusive to residential. There's commercial markets that's important in. There's industrial markets that's important in. There's mission critical, which is a big market that we're starting to get into right now, either through military use or for civilian private use as well, and also in the solar market through exoframe as solar canopies or ground mounts or roof mounts that can be made out of composite materials. So, I mean, right there, there's 5 different markets that I just mentioned. So, to recap, we have our residential market, which is Northstar Homes. Those are your sustainable homes that you're seeing that we're currently building locally in Southwest Florida and also throughout the states. We have commercial structures, which are a lot of what I just mentioned in the previous slide that I was talking about for prior performance. And we have exoshell curtain wall systems, which is our curtain walls. And that's also what we're developing Generation 8 around. We have the solar canopies, which I spoke of. That product line is called Solar Glass. It's on our website, northstartgi.com/solar glass with 1S. Um, we have the Evlion line, which is EV battery modular storage unit. So a little background on that. A couple of years ago, Porsche of North America came to us and asked if we could build a protected storage unit in which they could house not normal batteries, but their decommissioned or dead EV batteries. So it wouldn't have to be stored within their dealerships or within their service bays at their various locations, right? And the reason why they didn't want that, because these batteries can be, as you've probably seen on YouTube or some social media videos, they can be highly flammable, right? So if you have it in a building that's inhabited by other people, obviously that's not a good thing to have flammable materials there. So this acts as a modular standalone structure, which we actually designed and outfitted to have it look like a mini dealership. If you ever seen a Porsche dealership, they look, they're always an architectural piece of work, right? They're always really, really cool looking. They're real sharp. They have their own design intent, right? So we modeled and we designed this thing to look like a mini version of those dealerships. Since the structures and the enclosures are fire rated, 30 minutes and extended up to an hour, then they provide that safety that they're looking for, in addition to all the benefits like being impact rated and being lightweight and being modular, which is something that they needed as well, right? And the mission critical, which I talked about, which would be kind of the actually I'm sitting in one of our network operating centers right now, which is an example of a mission critical modular unit, right? Um, and we can use that for military use, or like I said, for civilian use, for medical use. I mean, we can make mobile hospitals out of this. We can make mobile data centers out of this. The possibilities are endless with our mission critical modular units. Next slide talks about sustainability, and that's key for us. I would say that is really where our mission statement came to mind. Not only from a protect the earth standpoint, which is critical for us, but also from the standpoint of being mindful of smarter construction, right? Not as waste heavy, not as long or an extended period of time to consume resources, right? Using materials that don't leave a massive carbon footprint, which is something that we really talk about, and even recyclable materials, right? The ability to use um, building materials that have great potential to be recycled and repurposed due to their long-term lifespan, combined with our ongoing efforts towards the land-free construction sites, which is not something that you normally hear of. Normally, construction sites, if you've ever been on one, have a construction dumpster. They have, debris and waste everywhere. It's not necessarily a clean area until you get to CO and you've had that place cleaned up, right? We've also developed some efficient methods of reusing residual FRP material, which reduces carbon emissions and the production of new materials. Our advanced composite systems are virtually maintenance free, right? So that's where the recyclable aspect really comes into play. From a carbon footprint standpoint, composites have a significantly reduced carbon emission during production, manufacturing, and its lifespan when compared with traditional materials like steel, wood, or concrete, right? Properties such as corrosion resistance, mold resistance, resistance to chemical degradation, and superior energy efficiency ensures a comfortable and sustainable structure for generations to come, right? And a fun fact here, research has confirmed that fiber reinforced polymer experiences only about a 2%, less than 2% degradation over a 100-year time span. And that's based on various tests that we've actually done here ourselves when we went to get our Florida product approval, right? And then just to continue on the sustainability piece, we have some key sustainability standards that we follow, one of them being called the LEED certification. We actually qualify for LEED Platinum, which is a certification that's achievable through LEED. They have a point scoring grading system going from silver, gold, platinum, and then net zero, which is something that our homes are qualified for. We can be a complete carbon neutral uh, net zero home that is completely off grid and can be fully sustainable on its own. We're actually working on some projects that are just like that, and I'll talk about those later on in this presentation. Another sustainability standard that we have is that everything is pre-built to accommodate passive house standards. What does that mean? Because we're prefabricated and because we're design intensive towards the passive house standards, then we can qualify for those parameters as well, and that represents tax credits and benefits to the end user as well. Another fun fact here, making pultruded composite products requires little power and water throughout the entire process, which is what makes it sustainable, right? Okay, guys, next up, I wanted to talk about features. And this is important because these features apply across the board, right? And this is part of the reason why we're in so many markets is because the features are so beneficial for not only commercial, residential, mission critical, and solar, like I said, but first and foremost, we're fire resistant. We have a Class A 30-minute fire rating and what's available to be extended up to an hour. We have a high strength to weight ratio. So pound for pound, we are stronger than steel, and we actually weigh about 75 to 80% less than steel. We consider ourselves, and we are been tested to the standards of hurricane resistant, meaning that we're approved for the use in exposure D high velocity hurricane zones and regions. So what does that mean? Areas like Miami-Dade, areas like Collier County, areas that are subject to hurricanes are classified as high velocity hurricane zones, right? And we are actually rated up to exposure D, which allows us to be classified as an emergency management shelter for any emergency management use. So if you've ever had the unfortunate experience of living through a hurricane, they've set up key evacuation and shelter areas for people to go to that didn't evacuate in the event that they need to go somewhere or that their house has been damaged or simply if they need a shelter, right? And these are normally schools, they're government buildings, something that's rated up to exposure D. Well, our homes, actually any of our walls are rated up to that standard. So any Northstar structure that you have, whether it's a home or a commercial building or even the modular system that I'm sitting in right now, is actually classified to be used as an emergency management shelter. So that's actually a huge benefit for us in all these different industries, right? Of course, we're energy efficient, and that plays in the sustainability aspect too. Um, our materials have zero heat transfer. That means that we're superior in thermal performance, right? And all thermal properties, all installation values are rated on an R system. Code minimum is R13, which is like your standard block wall with minimal insulation. Our standard is actually R26, which is double the code, right? And we can go all the way up to R42 as an upgrade. Our standard is R26. As an upgrade, you can go up to R42 if you want extreme energy efficiency, and then kind of so you can classify for some of those LEED Platinum and net zero ratings that I talked about earlier. We are completely water resistant. So FRP is non-porous and it's impervious to pest, any water, and obviously to wind and impact. So what does that mean? If one of our walls gets soaked or if it gets flooded, you don't have to dehumidify the area. You don't have to rent a bunch of fans. You don't have to try to dry out our walls because they're completely impervious. They don't suck in any water, right? Even our foundations, which we use fiber reinforced polymer for the rebar, as the foundations absorb water through the concrete, that normal steel rebars or metal rebars, they start spalling, which means when they rust, they expand and it breaks the concrete up. And that's actually what happened in Miami-Dade where they had that big high-rise collapse. The rebar in the foundation was actually completely rusted. It had expanded. It had compromised the foundation. It had cracked that foundation, the concrete in that foundation. And eventually, over time, and with construction going on around that building, the foundation failed and the whole building collapsed. So um, I'm not going to sit here and say that had you used FRP rebar, that wouldn't have happened, but it's highly likely that because the main failure point on that building was the rebar, if it would have been composite instead of steel, it wouldn't have rusted. It could have probably avoided a lot of damage, right? The big one that we always get and we have a lot of fun with is we are ballistic rated, which is a lot of fun. I always have our samples of our walls that I send to strategic partners, or we send them to our clients, and they'll send us videos, or they'll actually ship them back with a bunch of bullets that had not penetrated our wall and simply just mushroom on the surface of the wall, which is always really fun to see. And I have some videos of that too, which I'll show you guys, or pictures that maybe we can even put on this presentation today, so you can see what that looks like. If you ever come for a factory tour, we do not give you the ability to shoot our walls, but we do have those walls that I'm talking about as displays, which is a lot of fun. Anyways, we all UL level rated 1 for ballistic rating, so that's 752, and that's just on our 1/4 inch ballistic panel, and we can go all the way up to UL level 8, which would withstand a 50 cal. That's like full metal jacket stuff, and that's more for military use. But if you want to use it for residential use, why not? It's up to you. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that, but you would be just fine and dandy with our standard, which is at UL level 1. That's not something that any other building system can currently provide in the marketplace. Because of the ballistic rating, we have an impact rating, right? So we are impact rated up to 250 miles an hour. Code is anywhere between 175 and 180. So it's not even close, right? There is the potential, as you guys know that live in Florida, for us to experience Cat 5 hurricanes, which is in excess of 185 miles an hour. So for you to be extra protected as weather continues to deteriorate and these storms continue to get stronger, would be good for you to think ahead. So next time you're thinking about building a house, consider building with Northstar, and be prepared for storms that could have a wind rating or impact rating of over 200 miles an hour. We are mold and corrosion resistant, and meaning that any sort of degradation to materials, such as I'm going to use even an organic like wood. Termites love wood, right? Termites do not love FRP. They're not going to eat our composites. So if you have a stud that's made out of FRP, or if you have a truss that's made out of FRP, 10 times out of 10, those termites are going to go for the wood studs and the wood trusses. They're not going to go for the FRP studs and the FRP trusses. Okay. Natural corrosion, whether it's from the test of time, whether it's salt water hitting it, if you have a beachfront property, whether you're exposed to an area that's extremely hot, throughout the world. I mean, we have projects that we're looking at in the Middle East because the heat out there is so substantial that it corrodes homes, right? Just like salt water would corrode our homes. We have projects that we're looking at in Belize. They have some of the highest salt content in the air, right? So that means that as those oceanfront properties, or even properties that are off the ocean, that are not directly on the shoreline, are getting affected by this, the facades and the exterior is actually being corroded in real time. And also chemical degradation. So any acids, any sprays, anything that would affect normal traditional building systems, especially wood, we would be completely unaffected by. Okay, and then to wrap up the first part of this 3-part series on our podcast episodes, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefits as relevant as they are to our features. Composite building solutions provide numerous safety benefits, unmatched weatherability, and superior energy efficiency, which is what I was talking to you guys about earlier, right? In conjunction with innovative systems and technologies, result in our structures that continue to conserve time, money, energy long after the project is completed, right? And that's our core value. That's our mission, is to create these highly sustainable building structures that are going to be more environmentally friendly, easier to build, and they're going to last longer, right? Again, lightweight materials reduce risk as well as reduce transportation and labor costs. Indoor manufacturing, which is what we do here in Bonita, protects workers from the elements and improving efficiency, right? Especially in rainy areas, especially during the summer, especially in areas that are subject to the weather. Manufacturing can continue no matter where you're at in the world. Decrease total construction time and significantly reduce on-site installation time. What does that mean? Because our panels are prefabricated and they're flat bedded out to any job site, that's going to reduce the amount of time that it takes a structure to be installed and erected, right? So as opposed to block where you're laying it one by one, since our walls are ready to go, literally get to the job site, you pop them up, tap con them into the system. We have a weatherproofing that we use on the connection to the wall, and then you're set and ready to go. And then you're bolting on the next wall, and then the next wall, and then the next wall, and then you're putting your next floor assembly on top of that. For those of us that are construction nerds, our floor assembly can be framed or it can be concrete and poured, right? There's no limitations to our load-bearing walls. And of course, we are lightweight, durable, and provide flexibility and versatility compared to other materials. Also, we are non-conductive and we have superior applications in metal. There's been a big push lately, especially with barnuminiums, which is a market that we're in right now, to make them out of metal. And while that sounds effective and sounds cheap, it's exactly that, cheap. You don't have a lot of energy efficiency with metal. You obviously are conducting electricity, and which is not a good idea in a state like Florida, or really anywhere in the world. And you're exposing yourself to the dangers of the elements of nature, right? Of wind, fire, water, all of that. None of those threats that nature exposes you to agree with metal, right? But with FRP, given all the benefits that I've already gone over, you don't have to worry about those things as much, right? So next time you're thinking about building a metal structure, reconsider, and I want you to know that there's other options that it can still be cost effective as well, such as FRP. All right, guys, that wraps up part one of this three-part series for what I'm going to call the Northstar features, right? We talked a little bit about our benefits. We talked about the features that we provide as a building system. We talked about the markets that we're in, and I gave you a little bit of an overview. So let's call this like the Northstar from A to Z. I'm going to come up with a cool name, I promise. For now, I'm just spitballing some different names I'm probably going to call it. And that concludes part one. Stay tuned next week for part two, and then the following week for part three. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.